Good morning, Wester Rose.
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast. I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Kyle. And we're your Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners with Alayne 1, a.k.a. Sansa 2, on deck. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Pretty good. Quick synopsis. I'm going to do this before we ask you, because before I ask what you guys thought, because I always forget. Sansa's in the Eyrie. Basically, the 6 guys we've heard about multiple times from, I think, Cersei and Little Sansa chapters before. 6 main lords of the Vale are not happy. Littlefinger's here. They come up. They meet with Littlefinger. That's the gist of the chapter. There was a little scene with Robert beforehand. What'd you guys think of it?
I'll let Kyle go first.
I think I always refer to it as the Eyrie Mountain. I'm always like the Eyrie, and you're like the Erie. So I always get so messed up. But anyway,
You can call it whatever you want. George says that for everything.
Okay, that's fair enough. Anyway, that has nothing to do with this. It was all right. This wasn't that sweet of a chapter, in my opinion. It was one of those. I guess we got a little bit more layout of the mountain and the mountain that the Eyrie is built on, and kind of that whole situation. But like, I don't like Littlefinger, right? And you hate to see him doing his thing potentially successfully. So this whole their relationship's just weird, right? So it's just like weird. Awkward. Yeah, it's just like awkward the whole time. It's kind of skews me some. Yeah. So I fucking, like I said, you're waiting for him to get his comeuppance, and it's not this chapter. So it's like, fuck him. That's where I'm at. I don't know that's like necessarily that it was bad chapter. It's just my feelings.
Jeff?
I think this is a way better chapter.
Yeah, I do like this chapter. I think there are some spoilery things that maybe Kyle, that you definitely pick up on more on a second read through. And I think maybe even more just like being involved in
I wasn't done.
Oh, sorry, good.
I think it's a way better chapter because I think Littlefinger is very entertaining. I want to see more. I want to know what he's doing. Like the gameplay, intrigues me because it's actually going to affect the story, right? Like we know he's got a mission and like he's taking steps towards it. We don't even know what the end goal is, but like he's talking about taking out Cersei and, just playing 18 steps ahead of everybody else, it seems. And Sansa's kind of learning or like getting tutored in it as well, which I think is interesting, bringing a little bit more interest to her possible storyline in the future. And it's actually like working towards something happening
in the main story. Yeah.
In the main story, which.
Yeah. So I agree with both of you guys. I understand what Kyle's saying, where like Littlefinger definitely isn't a character we're rooting for. Like he's a major groomer with Sansa and everything. But I agree with Jeff that like it is kind of great to see Littlefinger. Like in the first Sansa chapter, what was the big thing? Like Nestor Royce, the guy who's at the bottom of the mountain, the gates of the moon, not any one of these 6, he comes up to visit and question Sansa and Marillion and everybody. And basically, Littlefinger gets Nestor on his side by saying, oh, Lysa always wanted you to be lord of that castle forever, when normally it's a hereditary castle. It goes to the second up for the Arryns. So Littlefinger promises that to Nestor, but he signs the paper, basically making it so Nestor knows, okay, if Littlefinger gets kicked out, this is no longer a rule and I lose my castle. So it was kind of cool to see Littlefinger, like we were finally like in the mind and we saw the workings of that. It's cool. I want to bring that up too, because it kind of comes back up to help him in this chapter. Nestor is 100% on his side in this chapter, even though he's coming up with these 6. And I think the big Littlefinger moment in this one is the whole Lynn Corbray thing, which again,
the end. I thought the end was, which I forgot. So reading that again and now like thinking about how that'll play, I think is cool.
Yeah, so how he got out of the Nestor thing was cool. He's like definitely manipulating, scheming, and good at it, right? And then how he gets out of this one is also cool. Definitely evolves like scheming under the table stuff. It's not just straight up he's a good negotiator. I mean, some of it, but there's also he's scheming, right? So
yeah, but I don't know. Fuck people like that is my opinion. I'm of the mindset of like that. So like people that just take advantage of other people and have like manipulation and like he definitely is laying the trap the whole time, and it's like I can't root for him, and
I don't think I'm rooting for him either. But
I'm not saying you're
rooting for the chaos of this thing. And again, hopefully we're working towards something, which who knows if we actually are.
Well, and the weird thing about rooting for Littlefinger is like if you want to root for Sansa, like your best bet kind of is root for Littlefinger, right? There's not really an easy out for Sansa. She kind of actually thinks of one in this chapter that I think might have worked for her.
She just has to be like, hey, I'm Sansa, protect me. This guy's a prick.
Sure,
pushed him. That's the easy out. I mean, I guess at the same time, she's wanted. I forgot about that whole aspect of it, right?
The other thing is Littlefinger, yes, seems to be like creepily in love with her, but I think he would sell her out. Like if it became like his back against a wall, it would be Cersei, guess who I have? You know what I mean? Like maybe I'm wrong about that. I think we could debate that, like whether he is like in love with her enough because of the whole cat stuff he wouldn't sell her out. But I think like if it came up to it, Littlefinger versus Sansa, like she's gone. So Sansa's only safety here is like at the moment ride his coattails. And I don't know if that's the truth, but that's what she thinks. So and we can get into some of that as we go. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, she's a captive.
All right, let's jump in. So Sansa wakes up, morning sunrise.
Upgraded digs, right? Now she's got the Maiden's Tower.
Nicer room. It's got a balcony. It's a little cold, up here. It's wind. Obviously, it's becoming winter. She has some winter quotes.
She can look over the whole Vale, kind of cool. And there's a giant mountain up that she can look up to. That normally there's a waterfall that we always hear is Alyssa's tears. The mountain's so tall the waterfall doesn't reach the bottom. It like the wind turns it into a mist before it gets to the bottom. But even that is frozen into like 20-foot long icicles, and there's a falcon flying above it.
Yeah, and she wishes she could get wings at that moment too.
Yep, and fly.
But all right, so she's in the Maiden Tower, much better view, looking out east. She's got this handmaid, old lady, handmaid.
Gretchel. I don't know if it mentions her age in this chapter.
Yeah, she's old. Yeah, she's like wrinkly or something. It says.
There's another one that's Maddie, I think is a little younger.
Yeah. And she's looking down. She's out on the balcony, looks down.
It says, as my lady wishes, the old woman said. So, yeah, she's definitely old. Anyway, go ahead. She looks down and sees.
As she's on the balcony, she looks down and sees the Lord Declarants. They're all at the moon door.
Yeah, kind of cool. Like they look
Gate
like
of the moon?
Ants to her. The Gate of the Moon.
Moon, not moon door. Gate of the moon.
Gate of the moon. They look like ants to her.
And she's like, let me stomp these fools out. She's not having them.
Yep. Young Lord Hunter was the last to arrive 2 days ago, so now all 6 of them were there, 100 men each.
There was 1,000
each, yeah.
I have 300 men, but yeah, I don't know what that means.
The 300 men were inside. That's what they have.
The good guys have 3. Yeah, Nestor's guys.
Wow, good guys.
Nestor's guys. Yeah, I don't know if it's good guys, but again, for Sansa,
picking sides. Nelson just picked sides. You heard it right there. So, Nelson just picked sides.
Yeah, he's rooting for Littlefinger.
I guess while we're on it, Sansa is thinking of herself as Sansa. Like, not even when she's talking, there's times when, like, oh, Alayne's hair was brown. Like, when, you know what I mean? Like, she's thinking of
if you're going to play a part, you better jump into it.
Well, again, and what do we see in the last chapter?
Arya changing faces.
Well, yeah, but at the very end, she goes off and she's supposed to start playing a role of somebody else, right?
Yeah, and who? No one.
What? No. You can't be no one when you're Brusco.
Yeah, she got to be Cat.
That's only when you're here. Yeah. So what's her name?
Is it Alayne?
Her name is Cat.
Cat,
yeah.
And then Sansa's name is Alayne. Cat Alayne.
Sweet.
That's definitely on purpose. Come on.
That's probably on purpose.
First Alayne chapter is right after Arya takes the name Cat.
It would have been cooler if the Arya chapter was named Cat.
Yeah, I could see. Well, yeah, that's true.
She only transitioned at the end, though. So you're saying that's like Catelyn is what you're talking about now?
You go Cat right into
Cat Alayne. Yeah, and I think that's probably why Arya took Cat's name. And I think Sansa wanted to take Cat's name as well, but Littlefinger's like, no, that's too obvious. But you can take my mother's name, which was Alayne. His mom's name was Alayne. That's where this name came from.
Gotcha.
We learned that already.
I didn't put. I don't think you've ever mentioned that to me either in our times of talking of this.
He's holding the good stuff back, Jeff.
Yeah, waiting for the pod.
So,
all right. So name the 6 Lord Declarants.
Benedor Belmore. I don't know if we get them all. A lot of times they just say Lord Belmore, but all the full names are Benedor Belmore, Lord of Strong Song, Simon Templeton, Knight of 9 Stars, Horton Redford, Lord of Redford, Lady Anya Waynwood, Lady of Iron Oaks, Gilward Hunter, who is called Young Lord Hunter. He's not really young. His father just died recently. He was really, really old, kind of like a Walder Frey situation. Lord of Longbow Hall. Then the last one is Bronze Jan Royce, Lord of Runestone. He's Lord Nestor's cousin, and he's the chief and senior branch of House Royce. He's also the father. They mentioned later that he raised 3 good sons. He's the father of Robar Royce, who was in Renly's Rainbow Guard. I think got killed by Loras. And Waymar Royce, who died in the prologue of Game of Thrones. Did the others.
Did you remember that, Kyle?
I remember their names.
Sansa had a crush on the Waymar guy, too.
They do mention that part, yeah. That she liked Waymar. And we learned that Waymar's a douche.
Yeah, he was the one on the horse right and he was like, yeah.
Yeah, he's wearing like a sable cloak and he has like a long sword and they're like, you should have a dirk. Like, you are not prepared for this at all. Yeah, but obviously, little girl Sansa, who loves her knight in shining armor, she obviously falls for the douchebag knight, so makes sense.
So we find out that these 6 met at Runestone and wrote a declaration to protect Robin and to get him, I guess, and to also get out the enemies of the Vale.
Yep, the false friends and evil counselors.
Who might they be?
Yeah, that's what we'll get to later.
So she's rocking Lysa's clothes now.
Yeah, Littlefinger gave her all Lysa's clothes, and we learned later jewels.
Which is weird, right? Like, just to be like, here's all our shit. Like, now you're her. Like, that's strange.
Yeah. Especially because, like, then they have to play, like, oh, you can't be wearing that around other people. So, like, you can play dress up while it's just us, but, and like, the clothes is, I mean, I guess they do alter it, they say, but.
Yeah. And again, I always think Littlefinger really likes Cat, and Sansa's just like his cat fake, but if you can dress her up in Tully clothes, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's definitely gets something going.
And
for
he
him.
tells her not to wear the Aaron clothes, so like only wear that Tully shit.
Oh no, he says don't wear any Tully or Aaron for this one.
Well, yeah, when the people are here, but when it's just me and you, wear that Tully shit.
I mean, so Sansa does go into some of their size problems, right? The newer stuff she doesn't fit into because Lysa got kind of heavy, but the younger, when she was younger, that stuff fits Sansa.
They also altered it though.
My point is, what would Lysa have had more of when she was younger versus
Tully
older?
stuff. That's what they said. Yeah.
So,
all right. She's also continuing to dye her hair once the red roots start to pop through.
Yep.
She hits that with a little Tyroshi chestnut brown, but she might be running low. She didn't really say, but she's like, what the fuck do I do when I'm out of this stuff?
Yeah, interesting question. That could be bad.
So it's a finite product.
I also wonder how many people know. Is it just her and Littlefinger at this point?
It feels like it.
It doesn't seem like Robert knows, but like Gretchen or Gretchel, like
Robert's
Gretchel
like not privy to anything, man. I don't think he has.
Sure,
any
but
idea.
Sansa's handmaids, don't they notice? Like they don't notice Sansa's red coming in before Sansa does in the mirror.
They might notice she has red hair. Yeah, they might notice she has red hair, but I don't know
That's not enough to put two and two together for a handmaid who doesn't know history.
Yeah, I don't
think
think they're worried about it being her. Yeah,
they've never seen her. They don't know what she looks like.
Okay, I'll save one of the people I was thinking was Nestor, but I'll save why I think he might know till later. Again, I think it's very unlikely that Littlefinger would go around telling people something like this, but we'll get to it.
I don't think he can, right? Like once you start telling people, that's like what we just read in that other thing. The more people you tell, the doubles your risk with each one, right?
Yeah. So, okay, so now on the way to breakfast, Sansa's thinking about the Eyrie. It's the quietest castle in Westeros, especially now that it's like wintertime. Yeah, it's eerie. We should definitely said this before, but now especially that it's like getting wintertime, it's frozen, so there's no waterfall. All there is the wind. There's no animals, dogs. There's no knights. There's nothing. People here stay quiet to not bother Robert. There's just like nothing but like the wind. Like you'd go crazy. It's like Chinese water torture on the ears.
And like the people are even like talking quietly too. Like
they're all old. Yeah, it's like this place doesn't seem that great. Actually,
they know what these fits look like. We're about to see one. They just want to avoid that at all costs. So yeah, they're just like playing checkered on felt boards in their room to not make any noise.
And it's terrifying, right? Like this place has to be extremely terrifying to live in.
I don't know. I think if you had like some buddies here and you actually had like some bands and some stuff going on, this would be probably my favorite castle in Westeros.
I mean, it's a cool ass castle.
It's so high up in the sky, and like you have to the trip takes like 2 days.
But you like the mountain style?
I don't need to be in a mountain on a mountain.
The mountain of mountains over like this view Sansa has from this balcony. That would be the best view to wake up to every day.
Pretty cool, but only for like a minute, and then I'd be like, all right, I need to go down. It would be terrifying. What do you think, Jeff?
I wouldn't want to live there. I would definitely visit and do a long weekend.
And you ride the basket up, you pussy.
All right, that sounds even scarier than
dude. I would rather climb. I think.
Yeah, especially on a windy day. All right, so we get into breakfast. Robert's there. He's got some porridge. So as part of these people like being at the bottom of the castle, they're pretty much sieging it. Sansa says it's not really a siege, but it is. Like if they're not letting food up, isn't that a siege? Like I guess they're not fully at conflict, but it's kind of siegey. So they don't have anything.
It's siegey for sure. If you bring 6,000 men, you are being the aggressor for sure. You could have came with 6. Each of you brought like 20 guard or so. Like you brought 1,000. Like that's an army. Like we know the numbers. Like the North walked with like 20, right?
Yeah, 20,000 and stuff.
Or sorry, 40, 20,000.
Well, I think 20 was big. You're right. I think the North was down to like 5 at one point. So,
yeah. Like that. They have an army right now. They walked here with an army.
Yeah.
I think they had to show some some solidarity, right? And like, I mean, they definitely have a point here, right? We know that they have just cause to be here and try and overthrow this dude.
No, I agree, but I think it's very purposeful. Like, no, we're about to they know, if anybody knows, they know they can't siege this tower, right? They're just gonna sit there for.
Well, they can siege it, but they can't attack it.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's impregnable, right?
Yeah.
So they could just chill there till they get tired of eating porridge, I guess.
Yeah, Robert throws himself out the moon door just because they ran out of cheese.
So
yeah, Robert does not seem to like the porridge. Littlefinger doesn't like the porridge. He doesn't even eat it. And if all you have is grains, you have what? Bread and porridge, right?
That's about it, yeah.
That's pretty much it. So they're not quite down that far. Sansa does have cheese for the guests, but they don't have a selection. He's like, what kind do we have? The stinky blue or the white? And she's like, we only got one. So
I like both of them. Give me each.
I like all cheese.
Slice them up. So yeah, I called it a blockade. I don't think they used it, but that's basically what they're doing, right?
That's a good term. Yep.
And Maya Stone, our girl, we met her before. She can't deliver her meats.
Yep, can't deliver anything. Robert specifically today wants eggs and bacon, which I mean, just good breakfast. Everybody wants a little eggs and bacon.
Eggs and bacon for breakfast.
Yep. But Sansa's like, not today. You got to do your oatmeal today. Once Maya is able to come back, then you can have everything you want and all the cakes and pies and everything you like.
Yeah. So Robin's pissed. Doesn't want any of the food, and he couldn't sleep last night. Like, I'd be pretty cranky too.
Even though Maester gave me dream wine, which is pretty much NyQuil. Like, just go to bed.
Maybe he had a little bit of
melatonin, maybe
purple syrup, purple drink. It wasn't all.
I think it's more than melatonin, Nelson. I think it's a drug. It seems like. I
mean, melatonin's a drug.
Melatonin is
a vitamin, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it's considered a vitamin.
What the fuck does that mean? What letter is it? Vitamins have a letter. Vitamin M?
M.
It's a drug. Comes in a pill.
That's not true either.
If it's not just straight up from a flower or something, it's a drug. I'm calling it.
I'm not going to fight you on it, but it was in the vitamin.
It's a hormone, is what it is, Nelson. It's a hormone.
Okay, if you're taking testosterone pills, I'm gonna say you're taking drugs, right? Even though that's a hormone, it's a drug. So I agree, they're drugging him, but they're drugging him. I don't think it has to be super crazy. Like, I think we've heard other people hit dream wine. I actually have these in my notes. I can go check if we want.
I guess we could say that vitamins and hormones are probably subsets of a drug.
John uses dream wine just to get a good night's sleep during the Battle of the Night's Watch, when like they're up all night to fight the up and down on the wall. The wildlings are just attacking day after day after day after day, and like he can't sleep because his mind can't get it off. He uses it then.
I would say it's more melatonin than NyQuil, just because they don't have colds.
When Tywin sends Joffrey to bed when he's making an outburst, he tells him to give him dream wine. He tells Pycelle to give him dream wine. Like, so again, I don't think it's super crazy. I think it's maybe a strong NyQuil melatonin.
Yeah, either way, Robin seems to be having some sort of
they're giving him milk of the poppy too, which
psychotic break, right? At the very because even if Marillion is alive, like there's no way that he'd be hearing him this loudly in his room and nobody else hearing him.
They're just taunting him every night with everybody's in on it.
Yeah. So like I'm not saying Marillion is dead for sure, but like there's no way that he's singing these songs to Robin.
Yeah, Sansa's pretty sure he's dead, but like, yeah, like what else would this be unless like it's like Marillion? Yeah, I don't know.
PTSD.
Either Marillion's actually singing, or the kid's going crazy in the set.
Yeah.
Well, if Marillion's actually singing, then everybody else is going crazy for not hearing it, right?
Or maybe they're in on it, which they're not. I don't think they are.
I mean,
Sansa's pretty sure he's dead, right?
That's what she says here. Yeah.
If Lady was alive, I would think it might make sense that Sansa doesn't hear it just because she's accidentally like warging into Lady or something. But Lady's dead, so I don't think that makes sense, right? Like. So I don't know. That was the only thing I was thinking about this, but it is definitely, the whole thing's weird. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's not in here for no reason.
The only other thing, Marillion's pulling a Tyrion and like hiding in the fireplace.
In the walls.
Yeah. Yeah. He somehow figured a way to climb down out of the sky cells.
He's in Robert's mattress or something somehow.
Yeah, just whispering. Yeah. But he says he even want to like put the pillow over my ears.
That's what I'm saying. That's why he's in the mattress. Yeah.
So it might just be PTSD or something.
I would lean that way for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. So Sansa tries to be like, "Yo, he's dead. Like, trust me, that boy gone." But she did not see the body.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's like, plus I wanted Littlefinger to cut his fucking tongue out a while ago. He's like, and I commanded it, and he didn't listen to me. And he's like, well, he needed his tongue to confess. Probably a smart play by Robin. Well, I mean, he did help. Like they in the last Sansa chapter, they did bring Marillion in, and he confessed. So
yeah,
sure,
it helped.
But then you could. Yeah.
Well, then he did.
Maybe chopped it out before and then throw him out.
Yeah, maybe. To give Robert his tongue as a gift.
If you're worried about singing in the afterlife.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, so Littlefinger, Robert freaks out, throws his spoon, and Littlefinger kind of walks around the corner with Maester Coleman.
Yep. Baelish pops in. He's like, yo, eat that shit up. Come on.
Yep. You need your strength today. And Robert's
doesn't.
like, I don't want to see these guys. If you make them come up here, they're going to fly.
Good job later.
And he's like, well, that's very tempting, but I did promise him safe passage. Littlefinger's like, that's tempting. I do want to make them fly, but I promised him safe passage. So
yeah. And two plus twos.
Yeah, not just the 6.
We got a plus 2s with the Lord Declarants. We get Nestor, Royce, and Lynn Corbray.
Yeah, they should have left. In hindsight, the 6 should have left these 2 behind because we know, like I was saying earlier, Nestor's kind of already on Littlefinger's side, and we know by the end.
I think, to be fair though, I think Nestor was there just to lead the way up.
Sure.
So he was kind of sent by Littlefinger, right? Like
I think you're right. It's hard to get Nestor not involved. Lynn, though, he's not even a lord of anything.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I didn't know why he was here. I don't know who he is or anything, really. I mean, I feel like I've heard his name before. This isn't the first we've heard his name, right?
We don't even really still know unless, like, why would the Declarants be like, yeah, sure, come up? He's actively not on their side, and he's, like, got a bad reputation. But they're like, yeah, come on up, too. Like, was he chilling? Did he hear? He was like, hey,
I don't think he wasn't on their side. I thought he was, like, kind of pretending to be on their side.
He didn't sit down with them. He stood by the fireplace.
I mean, we learn at the end he was on Littlefinger's side.
I know he's on Littlefinger's side in actuality, but when they do like their sit down thing, he goes and stands by the fireplace.
So this is interesting.
And was like, but then he's like, "Let me kill Littlefinger," which we know is all a ploy to get him into like secret meetings to actually plot against Littlefinger.
Yeah. So let's hold off on some of this convo. The thing I'll say that's interesting about him standing by the fire: Sansa only brings 8 chairs. There's 9 people, so somebody has to stand. Does Sansa do that? Again, it's one of the things like, did Littlefinger tell her to do that? And we'll get to it when we get to it. But that's like an interesting thing because I agree. That's like,
I don't think he did because I think we're seeing in her mind where she's thinking about how she should set this room up.
It's just kind of a weird thought for her to, I agree, but okay.
Overlook something weird.
She knows I think it's weird that she didn't put out 7 chairs.
100% agree. But so leave Nestor stand too, just Littlefinger. Yeah, that works too. But 8 is weird. So we can get to it when we get to it. So yeah. They're still at breakfast. Littlefinger's here. He's thrown the spoon. Alayne's kind of on Robert's side. Why are these guys coming? We don't want them here. Just leave us be. And he's like, they want Robert in the Vale.
Wait, I do have a question too. What in the description of Lynn, did he love Lysa too?
He was a suitor. Okay. So I just checked if we've heard him before. We have heard him a decent amount, but I'm pretty sure pretty much all we've heard of him before is he was one of Lysa's suitors. So he was one of the people trying to marry Lysa.
But it also said like he was a good fighter and then he got betrothed to somebody. Was that true?
So I have a little quote about him right here if somebody wants to read it.
All right. Why don't you read it?
I can read it. Lynn Corbray has slain almost as many men in duels as he had in battle. He had won his spurs during Robert's rebellion, she knew, fighting first against Lord John Arryn at the gates of Gulltown, and later beneath his banners on the Trident, where he had cut down Prince Lewin of Dorne, a white knight of the Kingsguard. Peter said that Prince Lewin had been sorely wounded by the time the tide of battle swept him to his final dance with Lady Forlorn, but added, that's not a point you want to raise with Corbray, though. Those who do are soon given a chance to ask Martell himself the truth of it, down in the halls of hell. So this one I have is just like, he's a dangerous dude. He's not only killing people in duels, but also proven it in battle. He has Lady Forlorn. I think we learned some of it later. I don't have it all as a quote, but basically his father got wounded with Lady Forlorn.
It's right here on this page. It says, on the Trident, when their father fell wounded, it was Lynn who snatched up Lady Forlorn and slew the man who'd cut him down. Whilst Lionel was carrying the old man back to the maesters in the rear, Lynn led his charge against the Dornishmen threatening Robert's left, broke their lines to pieces, and slew Lewin Martell. So when our old lord Corbray died, he bestowed the lady upon his younger son.
Yeah. So again, I think this is definitely a callback to the Redgrass Field, the whole Blackfire thing. I think we've heard about this in the last Duncan Egg book. The Redgrass Field. Oh man, now I'm not going to know who it was. There was somebody fighting and somebody tried to rescue somebody. I think it was 2 Valyrian steel swords fighting against each other. That's not exactly what this is. But then also the whole bestowing the Valyrian steel sword on the younger son, which is exactly what happens with which kind of what starts the whole Blackfire thing, right? Aegon the Unworthy bestows Blackfire on his bastard, Daemon Blackfire, and then when he dies, he legitimizes all his bastards on his deathbed. So now we have the bastard with the sword versus the legitimate, you know what I mean? So I think there's definitely parallels there. I don't know the point, but
I think part of my problem here was I didn't realize that Lady Forlorn was a sword here. Because I think later when he pulls it out, it says something about Lady Forlorn.
Cool ass sword too. We can get to it when we see it. But yeah.
Maybe I was thinking that was an actual woman. That's why I thought he was married too.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
That's why I thought he was betrothed. So he got the sword.
Because I think the interesting thing about Lynn is that what we hear later, Littlefinger says he likes two things.
Boys
and money, I think. So
and killing gold
and killing.
3 things.
And killing. Yeah.
All right. So Robin's like, I don't want him here. He starts freaking out some more, throws his whole porridge onto the maester, and he gets into a seizure attack. Maester's worried about him. Like, yo, we got to put him back on the boob, find a wet nurse. And Littlefinger's like, no, like this kid needs to grow up. No more boob milk. Get that boy some sweet sleep. That'll do the trick.
Yeah. He's like, is that your counsel? We get the Lord of the Eyrie a wet nurse. That's like a funny line.
Sometimes you just need some booby milk.
So yeah, get a pinch of sweet sleep. This seems a little bit more than NyQuil. From like Coleman's like, oh, some sweet sleep. Like, okay, maybe just a pinch.
It sounds like it's like heroin.
We have heard this before. We've actually heard it can be used to cause a painless death. Sam thinks when they're on the way back from the Fist of the First Men, he's like, I wish we didn't leave all our medicine behind in the mad rush because we have all these people that are dying that we could use sweet sleep on to like kind of painfully
let them roll.
Which again sounds like
basically
very
what the
Arya's thing is.
Right? Faceless men are doing.
And we've also heard it. Varys used it to put the guards to sleep when Tyrion escaped. Jaime says he put sweet sleep in their wine enough to put them to sleep and not kill them. So it seems like it's a slippery slope there.
Yeah.
So, but which explains kind of
hand at that.
Yeah. Again, I don't think that's a spoiler, but nobody would ever catch that on a first read through. But I think it explains kind of Maester Coleman's like sweet sleep.
I mean, you could tell it was pretty fucked up. He's like, yeah, maybe not too much, maybe not often.
Like Littlefinger even goes about it weird. He's like, he likes sweets, doesn't he? Pies, cakes, candies, maybe some sweet sleep. He's like, sweet sleep. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
So now it's just Littlefinger and Sansa, and Daddy wants to kiss. Come on over. Plant one on Daddy.
Yep.
She gives him a little cheek kiss.
Yeah, I would rather break my fast with and the quote. Kyle, do you have it open? It says something about like with Littlefinger's eyes, like she normally calls him Peter.
He looked at her with Littlefinger's eyes
and says like, "I'd rather have a kiss."
She says, "Father," Alayne asked when he was gone, "will you have a bowl of porridge to break your fast?" "I despise porridge." He looked at her with Littlefinger's eyes. "I'd sooner break my fast with a kiss."
Yeah, just like. So
true to
Littlefinger's eyes.
Yeah, would not refuse her sire. Yeah, that's very strange. Also strange.
And she's trying to be like the dutiful daughter too.
Dutiful. Littlefinger smiled with his mouth.
Yeah, smiled with his mouth, but not his eyes, right? Because she gives him a peck, and he's like, "Oh, how dutiful."
Oh, he's pissed.
Yeah, it's just like so creepy. He's like, "You have other chores today. So what's their chores for today?"
Red wine, mull some red wine with. We'll tell the cook to mull some red wine with honey and raisins. Get some bread and cheese. What cheese is left? Sharp white and a stinky blue. And then get them the white. It's a better option.
Greet the guests.
And then, go get them, pretty much.
Just welcome party.
And then you also got to change.
First, get the fuck out of that dress, though. Like, who do you think you are? You're not a Tully.
Yeah. No Tully, no Aaron.
And he was kind of angry about it, right? Like, not angry, but a little bit.
They're playing the part, right? They're playing They're not letting the facade down, even though they seem to be alone, right? She calling him father and everything, so.
Sure, but I'm saying it was more of a stern father, like, get out of those clothes. Like, what are you...
Like, you dummy?
What are you thinking?
Didn't you think about this? Yeah.
So that's how I read it, but whatever. And Sansa's like, yo, Brownstown's going to know who I am. I've seen him multiple times at Winterfell. This dude's going to recognize me. And I saw him at the Ham's tourney.
Yep, exactly. And he's like, well, he saw you both times, I don't doubt. But at the Hans tourney, he was fighting. So he had other things to worry about than a girl in the crowd. And at Winterfell, he saw a young girl with auburn hair. My daughter is a maid, tall and fair with brown hair or whatever. He's like, men see what they expect to see.
And then she really pisses him off here. He's like, maybe you should just give him Robin. Like, let's go to Harrenhal. Let's leave the Vale.
Yeah, like, why do we have to win this fight? Like, can we just give up? Basically is what Sansa's saying.
Fuck that. I ain't going to Harrenhal. You know about the curse there. No one's lived.
Well, she's like, if you give him Robert, and he's like, and the Vale? And she's like, they already have the Vale. And he's like, well, they have some of it, but not all of it. I have friends in Goldtown still, and there's some people that do like me. He says Grafton, Linderly, and Lionel Corbray, who's Lynn's brother, and Lynn and Lionel don't get along. And we hear later these two people, House Grafton and Linderly, that he said he's friends with. These are the people he plans on getting the wards from. When he's like, oh, Robert needs people his own age. It's Lord Grafton and Lord Linderly. And Lynn even says like, oh, two pups from two lapdogs. So like, it seems like again, my thought is Lynn would only really call this out if it's already well known. Like he's not going to give the Lord Zeckler like information on Littlefinger that he doesn't know. So probably everybody already thinks that these two houses are like Littlefinger cronies or in his pocket.
Well, that's why they're not here, right?
Yeah, they're not a part. They're not a part of the Declarants. They would have been here if it was they were. Yeah,
they're
on the revolution side.
Yeah, but again, I don't think it's a secret that these people are on his side. Is my point, because Lynn says this openly, and I don't think, knowing in hindsight that he's on Littlefinger's side, he wouldn't like say something. I would think he wouldn't say something that these other people didn't already know. So not that it really matters.
Yeah, that would hurt their position or whatever. I got you.
Yeah.
So Harrenhal's fucked. He's like, you hear the mountains dying from a poisoned spear. The guy before that got chopped off joint by joint.
So this is interesting. Before they go into the list of everything bad that's happened at the Curse of Harrenhal, Littlefinger's like, so first off, I think there's a twofold here. He actually gives like a logical reason why Harrenhal's cursed. He's basically like, it's too big. Like literally, it's not feasible to heat. You can't afford to heat it. The place is too fucking big, and it's so big you can't actually garrison it. Like you can't get enough people.
Shit's always already all fallen over too. Like,
yeah, exactly. And at this point, it needs repairs. But he's kind of insinuating, the way I read it is, even if it wasn't, it's just too big of a place. Like it's unmanageable, basically. So, but then he's like, plus there's the curse and Sansa. Right? What do we always say about Sansa? Sansa says curses only are real in songs and stories. So it's like, okay, Sansa, you're finally fucking getting it. Like, don't listen to your songs and stories. That's just not real. But then Littlefinger flips it on. He's like, but wait.
and then she's convinced that it's actually cursed.
And then he lists all this shit that sounds like it's from story. Like, it's not even just cursed. Like, it's not like, oh, he died in his sleep and he like. These sound like they're from stories. Gregor got killed by a poisoned spear. Vargr was dismembered piece by piece. Army Lorch was fed to a bear. And Tywin was killed by his own son, the Imp. Like, those sound like stories.
And then it keeps going.
Well, yeah, and he lists all these other houses that had it in the past. House Lawston, House Strong, House Harroway. And we've even heard Sheila Went is dead, who's the person that had it at the start of the story that we've never seen but always heard about as, like, the prior Lord of Harrenhal. So apparently she's dead now, too.
I mean, he's definitely using some tricks here, though, because, like, Clegane didn't die here at Harrenhal. I mean, I understand that he had Harrenhal, but like Tywin, like I guess he was there for a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's just people who held it are
everyone who has held it is dead now.
Yeah, but that's like everybody that's drank water dies. So like I don't.
But everybody's drank water.
Everybody that breathes air is dead.
There's been 5 people in this war that have held Harrenhal and they're dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a million.
The only one that you could argue is Janos Slynt, who maybe kind of had a claim to it, and he
didn't even step foot in it.
But yeah, neither has Littlefinger though, and I guess that maybe that's Littlefinger's
That's why he's still breathing.
Littlefinger's, I'm not going near that place. Yeah, so
who knows? I don't know. I think he's landing on extra thick here, and he's extrapolating some things out.
Again, anything he does is for a reason.
Well, yeah, that's all I'm pointing out. Yep.
But I do think like anyone that's physically been in charge of Harrenhal has died.
Yeah. It's funny because once Littlefinger lists out, Sansa's like, well, then give it to the phrase.
Not a bad idea.
Littlefinger's like, yeah, either them or Cersei. He's like, actually, I shouldn't say anything bad about Cersei. She has been sending me some tapestries and being pretty kind. And Sansa's like, that's not kind. She's never kind. Fuck Cersei. But tapestries mentioned. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Did think this was weird when we read about it in the Cersei chapter, so.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to be in them. Like, I feel like there's something going to be rolled up in them or something, but I have no idea what it could be.
Ooh, like a secret sword or something?
I don't even know about that, like letters or something that he had maybe hidden in them already, like or money sewn into them or something like that.
That Cersei doesn't know about or something?
Yeah, potentially.
Oh, Littlefinger hid something in these tapestries in King's Landing, and Cersei's sending something back when. Oh, I like that idea.
That's a bummer that I know that's not right. No, I'm just kidding.
We're running out of book. There's a chance I don't know. Yeah, but there's a chance that I have more thoughts than you, but I don't know. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I like that idea.
Okay.
And like, this is where he's like, yeah, but at some point, like, I might have to get rid of her. She's not playing the game for me.
Might have to remove her sooner than I planned, assuming she doesn't remove herself first. In the Game of Thrones, even the humblest pieces can have wills of their own. Sometimes they refuse to make the moves you've planned for them. Mark that well, Alayne. It's a lesson that Cersei Lannister still has yet to learn.
This seems like he knows too much about Cersei somehow, still. Like, he knows about what's her name, that lady that's with her. That's the way I read this, at least.
Taina. That's fair. Because that's a fair point. Like at this point, I think as readers, we might be able to see that Cersei is starting to make some moves that could lead to maybe some bad things happening for her, just by like surrounding herself with yes men and stuff. But like Littlefinger shouldn't really, like the public shouldn't. It's too early for the public really to be seeing how bad the fallout is, I would think. So is that that's what you're saying, right?
Well, and how does he know about Taina?
I mean, Cersei's been locked away. She hasn't done shit but burn the Tower of the Hand, like to the public eye.
Exactly, and make a bunch of seemingly bad appointments, which to us as readers could, like, we can, and we've seen some councils, we can see that things might not go great for her, or they do, but like
that's
you know
fair.
what I mean?
Maybe I'm assigning it too closely to Taina, and he's kind of means it more broadly. But he says he might have to remove her sooner than he plans, so he already had a plan in place. But perhaps she doesn't do it herself, or as long as she doesn't do it to herself first, because she doesn't understand that sometimes even these low pieces can disobey and not follow through with what you want them to do. So to me, like I said, it seems like he knows, but you're right. I applied it to Taina rather than the entire group of people that are surrounding her.
Hang on, I'm kind of confused what you're saying. So my whole point there was like, since the public shouldn't really be seeing that Cersei might cause her undoing, and I don't even think it's clear for us yet, but it seems like you're implying that Littlefinger has an inside man that's giving him more information than the public would have.
Something like that. Yeah, it seemed like he knew too much. Yep.
Potentially Taina.
No, I'm not saying Taina was his. I'm saying that just that he knows too much about her. It's weird.
Gotcha. Okay. That's fair.
But then I was also talking about just Cersei separately in the sense of like the little pieces around her are the ones I read like that as it was Taina is what he knew it as. But you've opened my mind to the idea that it could be any of these yes people that she's put around her, even though she thinks they're all going to do her bidding, they might not.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I assume because, like I said, Taina seemed like the one that was kind of really sliding into that role.
Yeah,
that was.
I think even in the macro, I don't even know if that's the right term. Like the bigger people that she thinks she's controlling too. She just has a firm grip on everybody, you know, and she's kind of fucked over some people, stuff, yeah. And you know, especially when she starts naming her council, it's like, all right, people might get pissed off about that. Like you're fucking
Kevin
over
Lannister,
cats.
Yeah,
but yeah. All right, so Sansa gets to setting up the room. She gets the food, you know, rolling. The wine's ordered. The cheese is you know, getting prepared as well. She gets dressed as Alayne. I don't have exactly what she wore, but it's pretty like not basic attire. A little bit higher than that, but not highborn attire.
So yeah, it was like a wool jumper or something, cover up kind of thing with like flowers sewn into it. It was nice enough, right?
Yeah,
but it wasn't over the top.
She didn't wear any of the fancy jewelry. She just wore a ribbon.
Gold ribbon around the neck. Like girls, that was a more popular thing, I guess, in olden times. To just wear like a ribbon around the neck, like choker style. Is that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
is that a thing that means something? I feel like the only time I've ever seen that was in like a movie where like they had like their heads cut off and they used like the ribbon to like hide that there was like a cut off in their head or something. So
no, I don't think so. I think it's probably like, what do you have to decorate your neck with if you don't have pearls and diamonds?
Well, then I'm also thinking like I feel like maybe in like a Russian book I read that there was
like it could just be like an ascot, like a little bit thicker of a ribbon that like maybe bowed up a bit. It doesn't have to be like a thin ribbon that I think you're thinking of.
Well, I think, again, maybe I'm totally wrong, and I could probably just figure this out with Google, but I feel like it was a prostitute thing. Like, prostitutes would wear a ribbon on their neck to signal that they were prostitutes. It might have been in Russia. Maybe that's from Crime and Punishment. I'm remembering that. I might be totally wrong, though. And again, it was probably like in the 1800s, not now.
You're talking to the wrong two people about that one. Yeah, I don't have an answer. I'm sorry. Never
you guys
read
don't
that.
know Russian literature?
No. Well, isn't the point of this green ribbon story? Isn't that like she takes it off and her head falls off? Isn't that like
that's what I was thinking of. Is that what I was thinking of?
This is like a whole story.
I don't know. I'm just saying like if you don't have shit, you can make some jewelry out of what you do have, which you probably have ribbons.
I'm not saying anything about the ribbon for a prostitute, so I might have been totally wrong about that.
I never heard of that either. Nor have I heard someone keeping their head on.
That's like an old like ghost story kind of thing. Green ribbon, and then she takes it off, and her head falls off, kind of deal. You know, I think that's the way I remember it at least.
Well, it sounds similar to what I was thinking.
Yeah, it does. Anyway, like I said, I didn't really think much of this ribbon. Yeah, it was just it was kind of simple accent piece that pulled the outfit together.
Okay, hold on. In 1860s Paris, a black ribbon choker was a common accessory, but it became a symbol associated with prostitutes, as depicted in Manet's famous painting Olympia. I'll put that. I don't even have it in front of me, but I'll put it in the podcast at this point.
All right. Well, you've been on it. So.
There's everyone's learn for the day.
Thanks for learning us. All right, so basically, she looks like Alayne, though, which is the point. She doesn't look like she's, wearing licensed stuff. She looks like a base-born Littlefinger daughter. So
the one thing I wanted to say about the setup before she gets dressed is that, again, I mentioned it before, the chairs. But what I have is she told the servants to go get 8 chairs, bring them up from below. She just heard from Littlefinger 9 people are coming up. Like we said before, 7 makes sense if we're not including Nestor or Lynn. 9 makes sense if we're including them. To me, 8's weird unless Littlefinger told her get 8 because Lynn's going to stand by the fire and draw a sword. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong because Sansa doesn't think anything about that at all, but it seems weird that
she didn't know that was her chore until he told her it was her chore.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all very strange. You're right.
You're right. I guess we see him.
We hear the conversation of him saying, why would they have an off-camera conversation?
Mid-chapter too, right? That would have happened.
Exactly. Okay, that's fair.
It would if she would have been if they never had the chore conversation and she says to herself oh, I gotta go sit up the room because Littlefinger had told me when they come that's what I have to do, then I would be with you Littlefinger could have told her. But I don't know why we wouldn't have actually heard Littlefinger.
I just thought it weird because there was 2 separate paragraphs. The one where she tells him to bring up 8 chairs, and then the one that you mentioned earlier where she's like, if this was a feast, there'd be 1 at each head and 3 on each side, but no.
It's actually the same exact thing.
It's the same
Alayne asked
spot.
2 serving men to erect the trestle table and bring up 8 of the heavy oak and leather chairs. For a feast, she would have placed 1 at the head of the table, 1 at the foot, and 3 along each side, but this was no feast. She had the men arrange 6 chairs on one side of the table, 2 on the other.
Just so she knows Nestor's gonna sit with she know, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
for sure. Well, again, they've obviously had conversations that she knew last chapter that Littlefinger was trying to get Nestor on his side.
That's a good point.
Which it might have been a little covery blown to be all right, you sit right next to Peter, but Littlefinger also had time where he's in the room that he could have rearranged it any way he wanted, but he was cool with it.
He sent him down as the welcoming committee too, Nestor. He
Nestor
sent him
owns
down
the gates of the moon.
I understand, but he sent him down to lead the way up. It even said that in this chapter. So I'm pretty sure that
I don't think Nelson read the chapter.
I'm pretty well. Even you, Jeff, though. You're just the whole way. You're not sure. Blowing his cover or whatever. I think it's known that Nestor is already Littlefinger's man.
Well, when Nestor walks into the room, I don't think he's everyone sits down and he's then he hesitates before he goes around the other side and sits with Littlefinger. So I don't think he knew exactly what was going to happen. So
I also think it's Nestor's job to kind of be the gate of the moon guy.
Again, Littlefinger shouldn't have to tell him at this point. That was the whole point of the last Sansa chapter. Now his fate rides with Littlefinger's fate in an unsaid way. If you want to be Lord, you fucking back me up. Right, so and that's kind of more the feel I get. I'm sure there is a little bit more than that, but
I've said my piece on the chairs. I think Sansa might have guessed, assumed, or it's definitely weird. I don't know. Again, I think
I don't have an
strange.
Answer. Weird.
I think there should have been 7 chairs if I was Sansa, but
just none for Corbray
or 9.
Or
if
Nestor.
they're eating dinner,
there should have been 9.
I guess there's just cheese. It's fucking cocktail hour, so they don't really need. Maybe I'll change my mind. If this is a cocktail hour, then you only need seats if you're actually participating in the sit-down mafia style. If you're an extra guy, you go by the fire and drink your cocktail.
I think Sansa said she was kind of scared of Lynn because she'd heard dangerous things, so maybe she was purposely snobbing him. But that's the only thing I can think.
Yeah, because they go to dinner after this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So I'm saying 7 chairs. I don't know what Sansa's thinking.
All right. So she goes to meet the guests.
Yeah. So they arrive. They explain them all. Lynn and Jan get a little bit more of a arrival description.
So they say Anya Waynwood and Horton Redford come up the winch because they're too old, and Lord Benedict Belmore does because he's too fat. I just mentioned that because later Littlefinger mentions that because when a year passes, the 2 old ones might die, and the fat one is puffing when he goes up the stairs.
Yeah. Bam. They walk in. Jan, first thing he's like, "Yo, do I know you, girl?" He's right on the trail. He's right on the trail, and he gets distracted by his cousin.
Yeah, so again, this is kind of one of the things that makes me think, could Littlefinger have told Nestor? Because Sansa kind of shits herself when he's like, "Do I know you?" She's like, "What?"
Starts blushing.
And Nestor's like, "Oh, this is Alayne, the Lord Protector's Is he just like coming to a rescue because he's on Littlefinger's
Nah,
side and he's
I
just like
think
trying to look
he's-
out for his daughter, or
I
does
think
he
he's just
know?
kind of. I don't think he knows. In
He's like,
my
"She's
opinion, I
freezing
think
right
he's
now."
just like kind of obliviously like, oh no, come on, this is Alayne. But
Yeah, I think I would agree. It's probably I think it's very unlikely that Littlefinger would tell anybody this, especially Nestor, who's cousins with Bronze John.
Fair enough.
But
yeah, but Lynn's like, yo, I want pieces.
yeah, he's like, "How old are you?"
I think she claims that she's a maiden or a maid.
So also here, when she first sees when Bronze John looks at her and calls her out, like, "Do I know you?" She thinks like, "Should I just fall at this guy's feet and be like, yo, tell him everything?" And she decides not to because he never fought for Robb. Plus, the Starks like kind of already lost the war. So like, what's this guy gonna get from helping Sansa? But I think this is a really interesting thought. What would Bronze John do? He seems like a really honorable guy, right? Especially with what we see later. Basically, when Lynn draws his sword, he's like, "This is over. We literally broke the law. It's over." Everyone else is kind of like, "No, not really. Like, it's not a big deal." But Bronze like, "Okay, you get your year. That's it. Like, we fucked up because we crossed this honor line." He seems Ned-like. We hear he kind of like hung out with Ned a little bit. Again, we don't know if they're buddy. But the other thing we know is Ned grew up here, right? Ned was probably friends with Bronze John. Maybe not like a daily friend.
He's
who lived
around
in
for
Eyrie,
sure,
but
yeah.
they definitely knew each other.
I don't know if it's all honor is why he did it. They're also kind of at an impasse. Like Littlefinger's like, fine, like you're declaring war on me. Like, is that the message that you want to get out and about type of thing? Like, it's not just like, oh, he drew the sword, we lose. It's like Littlefinger's like, all right, you want to start this quote unquote war. This is on you. And I think it's just bad optically.
Sure, and I agree with you. We can talk about that a little bit more in a second. But what do you think about what would Bronze John do if Sansa right now, when she sees him and he's like, "Do I know you?" Because she thinks about this. If she was like, "Yes, I'm Sansa. Just please help me." You know what I mean?
I think they would be in a similar spot than they're already in, right? Like they could, they know they're after Robin. If they really had the power in this moment, they walk in and they take Robin and leave. Right? They have 8 people here, and one of them's not even on their side. 2 of them, there's 6 people. 2 of them aren't even on their side. So if they try to do anything, Littlefinger's like, all right, fuck it, Sky Cell, all of you.
That's true. They just don't have the numbers right now to actually do anything.
So yeah, so Sansa outs herself. They're all outed. They're all fucked. They're all in a Sky Cell.
And the other thing is, like, even if you somehow get Sansa to the bottom of the cat mountain, and now you have her with your 600, and your main goal is protect her, which
6,000.
it wouldn't be. These veiled people might want to look out for her, but they wouldn't like drop everything. You know what I
Was
mean?
it not 6,000 men, or was it 600?
It's 6,000.
6,000. But even if they did, like, what's the next step then?
Well,
Like, they're like they can't call the king.
she's
and be-
wanted.
Yeah, but she would probably say, "I didn't do it," and I don't know. They might believe her.
But
I guess
like-
that's true. It's hard to tell. Like, do people just blatantly believe the crown because it's the crown? Probably, but I don't know.
I don't even think it matters. I think Cersei's like, oh, she's alive. Bring her here. I'm killing her.
Yeah,
Well, exactly.
Or otherwise,
So-
I'm gonna come get her. Yeah, so like she cannot out herself. So that's really.
So you don't
This
think
is kind of
Bronze
what I was
John
trying
would
to say
even
earlier.
take her side from Cersei is what you're saying. And I don't know if he would. I think it's a good point. I don't know if he would
He'd
either.
then
but-
be harboring a
I
fugitive.
think he might try to get her a trial, but
yeah,
it
but this
wouldn't
is
end
like
well.
the worst. Yeah, that's
Okay,
like that's
fair.
my opinion of the matter. Like even I think it would be a really dumb play from her to come out and be like announce to everybody, "I'm Sansa Stark." You know.
I think you guys are right. I was thinking one step deep. I was thinking Bronze John probably would himself support her, but you're right. Like, what does that lead to? Nothing. Nothing.
nothing good. That's why you don't
beneficial
play
at
the
the end
game.
of-
That's
yeah.
why you stink. You're playing checkers.
But it kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, which sucks for Sansa. Her only option is cling to Littlefinger then, right? If
Yeah.
she can't go to another high lord, one of the highest lords, and be like, help me.
I mean, till it's a national treasure thing. Till the status quo changes, you got to keep.
It just sucks for Sansa. But yeah, okay.
All
You guys
right,
convince me.
so yeah, so it's weird. He's like, "Oh, how old are you, girl? Oh, I hope you're not deflowered." Lynn's coming at her.
It's weird. She says she's 14 and not 10 and 4. Let me say that much.
Yeah,
right here.
and she stutters it. I agree with you, Kyle, because everything's been 10 and 4.
Well, it's because
Yeah.
Sansa's only 13. For some reason, she made Alayne a year older. I don't know why. Why would a Littlefinger allow this? It's just like it's just a potential fuck up for no reason. He shouldn't not have allowed. I don't even remember if this was actually a conversation, but like,
Why would her age come up in conversation?
well, she's like, how
She's the
old-
welcoming committee. All she had to do was say hi. No,
That's true.
Bronze John, you don't know me. All right,
That's true.
Littlefinger's waiting.
That's true.
She's out there long talking.
That's true.
But Lady Waynwood steps in. She's like, "Yo, stay away from the girl. All right, take us to see.
You fucking creeps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take us to see Littlefinger." And so she takes him in. Littlefinger's sitting there reading the declarant, and they start talking. He jumps right in the business. He's like, yo, I wish you guys would have told me about this. I would have been the first one to sign. I would give you my John Hancock.
So before that, one last thing. I know we already talked about it. We don't have to talk about this, but there's one interesting part at the end of the quote. She went to fetch the flagon whilst the visitors arranged themselves side by side, all save Nestor Royce, who hesitated before walking around the table to the empty chair beside Lord Peter, and Lynn Corbray, who went to stand beside the hearth instead. The heart-shaped ruby in his pommel of his sword shone readily as he warmed his hands. Alayne saw him smile at Sir Lothar Brune. So he smiles at Lothar Brune, who is the guy on Littlefinger's side who he calls out later, basically saying like, hey, give up your sword to Peter. So these two exchange a look. Again, does Littlefinger's the guy that seems like Manhattan Project.
Lothar might know that Lynn's in.
Exactly. Those two might know that they're both in.
So how do we know Lothar Brune's in?
He's just a Littlefinger guy.
He's on Littlefinger's side. He's been on Littlefinger's side the whole time.
How do we know that?
He saved Sansa from the Marillion rape, and he was there on the boat when she got out of King's Landing.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. He's just been there the whole time.
I don't,
Yeah.
So the other question then is like, why didn't he take the seat next to Littlefinger then?
He's like Littlefinger's guard.
Yeah, like security.
Then like a counselor. Yeah, he's like a doorman.
In this setting.
He literally opens the door for him.
Okay. He is not invited to this parlay.
Yeah, he's just like a guard who happens to be there on Littlefinger's side.
Understood. He's just a dude here. Never mind. I was completely
But later
lost.
when Lynn draws a sword and Littlefinger's like, I don't have a sword.
Yeah.
Lynn says, take one from the apple eater, which is Lothar Brune, because he popped off in the Blackwater and killed a bunch of fossways. So that's why they call him Apple Eater.
Okay.
So basically he's saying, so again, I think it's weird that they exchange a smile here. Again, Lynn could just be a dick who's kind of like, because he knows he's going to pop off, he's smiling because he thinks it's funny, but I think it could also insinuate that Lothar might know, that something's going to happen. So,
yep. All right. So they start, Peter jumps right in like, man, you guys should have let me sign it. I would have given it to you. And he's like trying to get on board, right? And they're like, what the fuck's this guy doing? Like, this is about him. And
Lynn laughs.
He's about it.
Yeah. And Bronze John's like, no, we're not here for your signature. We're here for Robert. And Peter's like, okay, you want to be blunt? Let's be blunt. You're not getting Robert. He's mine. Like, Lysa gave him to me. Like, what do you want?
Lysa gave him to me. That's just a funny way to put that. That's
pretty much what he banks on at the very end, though. That's like his final statement. They're like, Lysa didn't have the right to give away the veil. Like, she wasn't of the veil. She married into the veil. She wasn't of the veil. She doesn't have the right to give away the veil. And Littlefinger's basically like, does she have the right to give away her own son? Because that's what she did. She gave her son to me, and guess what? The son is the Lord of the Veil, not me. It's kind of what Littlefinger's final statement.
I mean, he kind of took the son from her. Let's be real. But yeah. That's his statement.
He pushed her out a fucking window or whatever, door, exactly. But that's the...
Yep. That's his statement. Yep.
And that's what he's going with, exactly. Before they get there, they do say, like, just get out of here and go to Harrenhal. Like, that you have that. Plus, like, the Riverlands needs a lord right now. It's kind of fucked up. Their Riverrun's under siege. House Blackwood and Brackenhart are at open war. I don't think we've actually heard that before. Well, we know they don't like each other, but they're at open war now. They were on the same side in the rebellion. They were both on Rob's side, but now that Rob's gone, I guess they're just back to fighting each other.
Yeah, probably.
So
back to status
quo. All right, let's go back at it. Back.
Yeah, Littlefinger's like, as tempted as you make that sound, like all that nonsense that I have to go deal with. Oh, and there's outlaws, right? That's barracks people. He's like, nah, that's not gonna happen. Like, I'm gonna stay here. He's like, I'm not gonna take a sickly child into such carnage. And Jan's like, no, this child's not going anywhere. He's coming with me to Runestone. He's like, I'm gonna make him into a knight that John would be proud of. First off, good luck.
Good luck is right.
Well, they definitely attribute this kid's
ailments,
oddities, and ailments to Lysa for sure. Which I mean,
I think it's definitely part of it. I mean, she.
No. I'm not saying that it is what it is. I think he actually has some stuff going on, right? Like, I mean, she sounds like
column A, little column B, though.
Yeah.
Well, she had a lot of problems with pregnancies and things. So, like, I mean, this one seems like it probably had some complications as well, and so. I think they're just like, oh yeah, all he needs is some time away from here and away from some people. I guess that's gonna fix him. Yeah.
He was around his dad at King's Landing, but it didn't sound like Lysa let him do much of anything. So like, let's get this guy being a guy, get him in the yard, get him eating some steak.
You guys seen that meme of I think it's Khabib, the MMA fighter, and he's like, just send him to he's like, just send your kid to wherever he's from.
Yeah.
Some crazy city like Uzbekistan or something. But he's like, just send him to blah blah blah, and he'll in 2-3 years he'll be fine. And basically he's saying like, just send him to me. If you want your kid to be a great MMA fighter, just send him to me for 2 or 3 years.
It's not a movie. It's football.
I don't like football.
Who do you want to watch?
Send him 2-3 years Dagestan and forget.
Like that's what he
Start
can do to
wrestling
Robert.
bears.
Just send Robert to Khabib for 2 or 3 years. He'll come back a monster.
And Peter's like, yeah, no, he does actually need some friends. That's why I've already got the plan. I'm getting sons from Grafton and Linderley. And, Lady Wainwood, don't you have like a son that's a little bit older that can be a good idol for the guy? Harold Harding.
Harold Harding.
Bring him here too.
She's like, you're just a bold ass thief, aren't you? And they're like, yeah, they should be friends, but not with you. They'll meet at Runestone.
Peter's Lord Protector. I'm not fucking leaving. I'm not fucking leaving. Lysa told me I'm the Lord Protector.
There's also one part in there when he's like, we're gonna foster him at Runestone, and Littlefinger's like, well, why not the Red Fort, or why not Iron Oaks, or why not Longbow Hall?
Yeah, he definitely is trying to like twist them against each other and play all of them off. And then
Anya's like, don't play. We knew that was coming. Don't play that game with us.
We actually are taking turns.
Yeah, like we figured this out already. Don't worry.
Yeah, we already talked to who gives a shit. Like he can go wherever. It'll be good for him there. We don't really need him at all. Honestly, some of these people probably don't even want him. They don't want him unsafe. And
they
with
might
Peter,
not know him. Once they know him, they won't. Nobody.
Yeah, they won't.
Also, it's huge responsibility too.
Well, yeah, some of them probably can't care for him in that way, right? Like,
yeah. So yeah, Belmore is basically like, give us the boy, no harm will come to you. And Littlefinger's like, are you insinuating the contrapositive? Like, if I don't, then harm will come to me. And he's like, well, he says Lysa thinks that this was his proper place. And again, they kind of just talk more about what we've been saying.
Yeah.
I think we talked about something about it earlier.
Littlefinger's like, Robin belongs here with me. Lysa would want that. I'm his stepdaddy, and I'm the Lord Protector of the Vale. We can't travel him. He's too sickly anyway. Like, what you would want to do would be more harmful for the kid. And the other people are like, fuck you. We know you're a fraud.
Well, their argument is, how can you claim anything over us? Lysa was, like, tenuatively related, and you just married in to Lysa. Like, that doesn't make you anything. And then Nestor pops in for the first time with a good point. He's like, go ahead.
Yeah, he was going to say what you were about to say, is that, like, well, if I would have got to marry her, I would have wanted this. So, like,
yeah, like there's a bunch of us here that wanted, like, he doesn't say it, but Lynn wanted it.
Yeah.
Like, Lynn was part of the suitors. He was one of the suitors. And then he says,
yeah, so,
Anya's
like,
son,
wouldn't you have assumed you were the one that was going to rule then at that point?
Hey, Anya, if your son would have got this, married Lysa, would you, at this point, when Lysa died, Lysa would have died because he wouldn't have pushed her out the window. But
yeah, you never know.
But they don't know that. If you, at that point, would you have not claimed that your son's the Lord of the Vale? So it's a good point by Nestor, because I think they would have. But it's also not a good point, because like it's different. They're not they're from the Vale, right? It's kind of different.
I don't think it's that different, because
you're right. I mean, it's hard.
Again, he's not claiming to be like Lord Aaron. Robin is in charge when he's...
Yeah, and he's claiming that Lysa chose him and threw Robin because of that.
Yeah, until that time is done.
I mean, Jeff...
What?
Him claiming that to be in charge until it's time. Like, I mean, this is all part of his plan.
Again,
too.
I'm not saying he's telling the truth.
Okay. All right.
And Nestor's point is, like, you guys would all be claiming the exact same thing in your spot. And Jeff's saying that my argument of them having more right because they're from the Vale is bullshit. Yeah. And I think you're right. Like, it is bullshit. Even though it feels more right, it's bullshit. It doesn't stand out.
Like Ned would have been, when he was Hand, right? Robert dies. Just because Ned's not from King's Landing or a Lannister, like Ned would have been the regent, right? Or not?
I don't know if that would have naturally happened like that, but Robert signed the letter that would have made. Like,
sure, whatever. It's the same thing. He's saying, Lysa, put me in charge.
Put me in charge. This. Exactly.
I'm putting Rob put Ned in charge till he got his head chopped off.
That's a good.
But did Lysa put him in charge?
No, but that's his claim.
No, but there's no proof.
A lot of the stuff he's claiming here is not true, but that doesn't matter because they don't know.
I know. It does. It matters to me.
He did get married. They got married. Like, he is.
Yeah, they did get married.
He
but
is the dad.
It was all
He's
false pretenses, and it's all fucked up. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess by Jeff's point, technically, like in this world, you don't have to say you're next up in like a formal contract. That formal contract is getting married. So she got married to him. And then it happened after that. Sucks to suck, Lysa. You chose wrong. But Littlefinger, I guess everything he's saying kind of technically is true, even though, like, again, he schemed and lied and murdered his way to get there. On paper, it checks out.
Checks
exactly.
out. Yeah. All right. So
he's basically like, we got 1,000 men. We each got 1,000 men. Littlefinger, are you threatening war?
Simon goes into threat mode. He was loitering. Now he's trying to intimidate.
Yeah. And then it's like, are you threatening war? And Sansa's like, Littlefinger didn't sound afraid when he said it. And then Bronzeon says, we shall have Robert. And there's a little quote here. For a moment, it seemed as though they had come to an impasse, until Lyn Corbray turned from the fire.
Oh, this talk makes me ill. Littlefinger will talk you out of your small clothes if you listen long enough. The only way to settle his sword is with steel.
He drew his longsword. Peter spread his hands.
I wear no sword, sir.
Easily remedied.
Candlelight rippled along the smoke-gray steel of Corbray's blade, so dark that it put Sansa in mind of ice, her father's greatsword.
Your apple eater holds a blade. Tell him to give it to you, or draw that dagger.
She saw Lothar Brune reach for his own sword, but before the blades could meet, Bronzeon rose in wrath. Put up your steel, sir. Are you a Corbray or a Frey? We are guests here. So interesting. Sansa actually thought this earlier, and I didn't bring it up. The guest right goes both ways. I guess it makes sense, but I don't know if that was ever clear before.
The guest, like,
They're the guests here.
Cat was always like, I need to eat so that we're safe.
As guests.
And
but
now the hosts are...
Yeah, guests aren't allowed to draw steel once you do the guest right thing either.
I think that makes sense, too.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I just fed you, now you're going to try to kill me?
Yeah.
Especially under the pretenses of this meeting as well. Like, it was a parlay, right? It was supposed to be like safe passage both ways.
Yeah. Well, and again, like Sansa has thought about the whole guest right bread and salt a few times this chapter already up to this point. So, and I think it's funny because at this point it's common knowledge. Like Bronzeon said, "Are you a Corbray or a Frey?" Like that's just like an insult throughout most of the kingdom at this point to just be a Frey for not honoring guest right. So, I think that's kind of a cool part.
Do you think Walter cares?
Nah, probably not. So yeah, they kind of echo him. Put Forlorn to bed, says Horton Redford, and he's like, once my ladies come out, she likes to drop a red to go with her dance. And Bronzeon basically gets in the way of him. He's like, she's going thirsty today. Yep. And Lyn put it away, called him 6 old women, said a 6 Lord declarants, and storms out.
Peter's pissed now. He starts giving demands, right? Like, you guys are out.
Well, again, it's funny because he's like, you brought him here. You brought him here.
All
that's
part
what
of
he
the
keeps
play,
yelling.
yeah.
But really, who brought him here? Like,
Him.
Littlefinger made sure he was here. For sure. Like, the Littlefinger, I'm sure, was like, you better fucking be here. You know what I mean? Like, that, he's banking on this.
And you better pull your fucing sword, too.
Exactly. If there was a letter or a meeting with these two in private somewhere, he was like, you better fucking make sure they bring you up this fucking mountain, right? Because to me, that's the biggest question mark is how did they get, like, Lyn shouldn't be here.
Yeah, how did Lyn get in the travel party? How did he convince the 6 to be like, all right, like, yeah, you can come with us, too?
The only excuse Littlefinger gives earlier when he tells Sansa there's going to be a few extra people is that, like, it's hard to keep Lyn away when blood is in the offering. But again, the whole point is blood is not in the offering. The fact that he drew his sword is how he won, is how Littlefinger won this. So
it's just in the future.
The war is
okay. I thought the point was like we'll bring Lyn along in case something bad happens while we're up there.
I don't think so because they're so outnumbered. Like even like
he was looking forward to the fight and the siege. Yeah.
So, but that's like saying like okay, back in the day, it's like saying okay, we want to make sure Jaime is along. When there's blood in the offering. That doesn't mean you bring him to the fucking council, right? Again, I'm not saying Jaime would be bad, but like back in the day when all you're thinking is Jaime's a good fighter.
He could definitely be out in the hallway right now.
Exactly. It's like, why is he even in here? And again, maybe that's the point of why Sansa only brought, maybe we're answering our question from earlier, why Sansa only brought six chairs, because she thought that he wasn't even going to come in. He's basically I guess he's the Lothar Brune for this crew. And maybe Sansa knew that. He's the guard who's not going to be involved in the talking. He's just going to be on the door.
Bronn kind of deal. Yeah.
He just happens to be a loudmouth, and because
like he's like Bronn, where he's like
that's
Tyrion brings him around, and he's definitely Tyrion's muscle, but he actually shows up in these meetings and is kind of important. So,
well, Bronn for the most part won't speak unless spoken to, especially
that's kind
in
of what
important
happened
meetings.
Here, right?
Well, Lyn's laughing out of and like calling him out, but again, he's highborn, so it's slightly different than Bronn. Like he kind of can, even though he shouldn't be. Yeah. So I think that we kind of maybe explain that to ourselves. But okay.
So Littlefinger starts giving some demands like, you guys are gonna fucking leave, and you're gonna give me a year, and I'm gonna train this cat, and you're gonna love the state of the Protector of the Veil.
Yeah. If you got any problems with the Veil in a year, then fine, I'll step down. Like, you can have it, but you won't.
Yeah. And you guys aren't trying to protect him. You're keeping the food from him.
Yeah, how can you claim you're trying to protect him if you're starving him out? Like, he doesn't say this, but you see, he was throwing his fucking bowl around this morning because he didn't have any eggs. Like, you know how much of a headache you're causing me? You're causing me by holding this food out.
Get the eggs and bacon up here now.
And send up the dream wine and the milk of the poppy and the sweet sleep. We were running out of that for sure. And the leeches. We bleed this kid left and right.
Then he's laying it out that I'm ready for war. Like, I'll get the other lords on my side. Like, I already got some. I'll get some more. And I can get the crown up here in a hurry. Like, you really want to fuck with us? You want to fuck on me?
But that's basically his point. He's like, hey, if you want to go to war, we'll go to war. But guess who I'm going to get on my side? Other Veil lords. So you're just going to be killing people, like Veil people. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to die. I'm up in the castle.
I'm calling in the closer, too.
Yeah, exactly. And then if we get the crown involved, then not only do a bunch of Veil people die, but then I just win. And what was it all for?
And you're criminals then of
yeah, and you're already criminals. Like, that's the whole point. Is now I have actual. You broke guest right. Yeah. It's kind of hard for Cersei to claim that we're going to enforce guest right after the whole Red Wedding. But yeah, that's what he's running on right now.
So they start folding. Jan's not happy that he won, but he kind of folds too. He's like, you'll get your year.
Yeah. How do we trust you? I'm the untrustworthy one. You're the one that drew steel. Yeah, exactly. So
they have dinner later that night. Jan and Lynn. Lynn's already gone. He just kept walking. Jan was like, fuck this. I'm out too. And Robin did his part, man. He got his sweet sleep in, and he played the Lord and was impressive in front of these cats.
Yep. He did what he needed to. Sweet sleep did his job.
And Sansa's like, damn, Littlefinger's got him. She got him.
He's bewitched them. She thought as she lay in bed that night. But then she's like, wait a minute. And the thing is, like, if this is coming to...
Hold a second.
If Sansa can figure this out, like, shouldn't Bronjon be able to figure this out?
No.
Like, he played us, that part, yeah. I mean, I think they know he played him, though.
That Lynn was a plant?
They know Littlefinger's playing... They know Littlefinger's a snake. She knows he's, obviously playing games and kind of setting pieces up. So she's trying to get into his mind. She's with him every day, right? They're having these conversations. Like, I don't think Bronjon is at the point where he's knowing how deep his game goes, more so than they think that he's trying to have Robin to hold the veil right now.
That's fair. Bronjon probably has heard a lot about Littlefinger, but probably doesn't have a ton of FaceTime with him, so like not a lot of firsthand experience. The other thing I guess that makes it harder to see is, and it's not super clear in this chapter, but Littlefinger does mention it, Lynn and his brother Lionel do not like each other. Right, Lionel was the one who saved the dad. He mentioned it. Yeah, Lionel was the one who saved the dad. Lynn was the younger son, but got the sword and then avenged the dad. Right, so kind of both did good things, but they don't get along. Lionel feels robbed of the sword. Lynn seems to have like a stern, like I don't know how you can claim I should be. Yeah, I'm the better brother type thing. Exactly, and Lionel is a very open Littlefinger person, so. It you know what I mean? Like that makes it seem like Lynn wouldn't be, right?
Sure. They're not going to be on the same side.
But they are. Yeah. Again, they're both getting paid by Littlefinger. I wouldn't say either one would claim they're on Littlefinger's side, but they might, you know what I mean? So you can pay off people who are not on the same side, I guess is kind of the point. And that seems to be kind of what's happening here. So I think you're right that Sansa just has more firsthand experience and has kind of been learning about all the scheming, so it makes more sense. But again, Bronjon, like she's a little girl. Bronjon's a fucking grown-ass man. Like all six of them, any six of these people.
First time he's seeing them though. And again, I think the beauty of it all is that Lynn is playing the part now of I want to kill Littlefinger. So like it's still apparent, like it still appears that he's on the opposite side of his brother Lionel. He's still aligned with the Declarants.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. He's just hot-headed.
They know. I think it's more so of like. Great shit on Lynn being an actor here and making it believable that I actually, wanted to steal. Like, his reputation, he wanted to kill, and he wanted gold. I don't know, he's not really in it for the gold here, but he wants to kill, right? That was kind of his first main thing. He's here for the blood. He wanted an opportunity. Like, who's he going to kill here? Littlefinger would be a great target. So, I just think it's a great plan of how believable it is. And again, Sansa is just thinking it through because I think it's just because she's been with Littlefinger now for an extended period. And she had experience in King's Landing where the game's being played all around her.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Bronze Jan's hands are tied. It's all. Like, even if he knows, like, how do you prove it? How do you, like this still kind of happened? Like, this scene happened. Yeah, like, maybe he doesn't know right now. If he figures it out later and, like, hey, fuck, we got played. I mean, the other side of it, though, is what you kind of were getting into at the end of that, though, there is, Lynn did leave that whole, like, well, he still seems like he's aligned with us thing there. So that was definitely a big part of it is because he was the one that was like, look, this guy's going to take us for everything we've got. Like, he's obviously playing us. This is bullshit. We need to kill him. And
he's the most on the Lord Declarant side to the point where he couldn't even contain his emotion, right? That's how far against Littlefinger he is.
He's fucking, he's manipulating the pants off of us. Yeah, so he did play a great part, I guess, is what that really comes down to, right?
Except for Sansa saw him smile at Luther. Like, if she didn't see the smile, does she connect the dots? I don't know. I think she's like thinking like that was fucking weird. That's suspicious.
Well, I said this when I mentioned the smile too. It doesn't have to be like a knowing smile between two people who are on the same side. It could just be like if I showed up and I knew I was going to accuse you later, even if you didn't know Jeff, I might still smile at you and be like, look, that's the bitch I'm going to call out. You know what I mean? Like, even if you're not in on it. So I think I do think it's interesting, but I don't know if it's a surefire. They're both on the 100% on the same page.
No, I think it was actually even more of she didn't like how he smiled or his smile.
Kind of like what she said about Littlefinger's eyes and stuff before. Like, yeah, like his smile. He smiled at Lothar. She didn't like his smile or something like that. Even though he was handsome.
Sir Lynn is very handsome for an older man, but I do not like the way he smiles. So she doesn't even attribute it to that smile, though. She's like kind of saying it just in general is like, this dude smiles real weird. So she didn't figure it out then. She only figured it out here after Littlefinger, and we didn't quite get there yet, right?
She's kind of learning the Arya techniques. She's like learning to read a face, right? That was kind of the whole thing last time is control your face
and just observe too. Just like let me just be on the wall and just like kind of listen to people and see mannerisms and shit.
Yeah.
So she can't go to sleep. She's like, I need to see what's going on. She goes right out of bed, slips by Gretchel, and she's like, Peter, what happens in a year? Like,
yep. So they mentioned something this earlier.
Robin ain't getting better. I think that's her point. Like, Robin ain't gonna be a knight in a year.
Exactly. Like, how are you gonna turn this around in a year? And he's like, oh, I'm not gonna turn anything around. I'm just gonna cheat, get the Lord Declarant on my side, basically by manipulation.
Survive in advance.
Yeah, exactly. Two of them might die.
2 of them are old. Yep. And those are the 2 that rode up in the winch. Makes sense.
Well, yeah, another one might get killed by his brother.
Because that brother already killed the dad. Littlefinger says this as if it's a sure thing. I don't know if he was involved or if he's, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, he said he arranged Eon's death.
Most likely by young Harwin, who arranged Lord Eon's death. That's not like a well-known thing. So like if Littlefinger knows it, that's kind of a secret. So
well, Littlefinger kind of seems to know a lot. So I'm
last we heard, people thought Gilwood killed his own father to become Lord.
Yeah,
that's the last we had heard, is that of the Hunter line of succession.
I mean, I don't even know who told us that, though. I don't remember.
It was in a Sansa chapter, I'm sure, but Sansa probably heard that from a servant or something. But yeah,
I don't even know who they are really. I feel like we only ever really met them in passing, other than this.
Well, I think it's interesting because we've heard about them as part of the Lord Declarant like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what I meant. Yeah.
The other interesting thing about she says it's the younger brother.
He's trying to kill his way to the top, is what Littlefinger thinks.
But there's another one. There's another brother besides Gilwood. So if Harlan is trying to kill his way to the top, I think he has to kill not just Gilwood, but a middle brother. One. Okay. So I might be wrong about that, but I think that's true. But
he's like, one of them can be bought. I can befriend the other, and then, well, fuck. What does it matter what happens with Bronze Jan? Because he's the last guy.
Yeah, he'll be on his own. As long as I can make sure that everyone else kind of joins my side by either dying or getting bought out. Exactly.
Yep. And Len, he's going to continue to not like Peter, and he's going to want to be in every meeting talked about killing me.
Like Nelson said earlier, he's going to be my inside man, right? Like he's going to know every plot.
Yep.
And he likes 3 things. 3 things he likes.
Well, and Sansa calls it out. Again, Sansa is sharp. She's like, and how will you reward him for this? Right. Littlefinger doesn't say he's doing it because I told him. He's just saying, oh, he'll be very anti-me. And she's like, and how are you?
Yeah,
rewarded?
but he's saying it in
He's
a Littlefinger
insinuating it.
way.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, I
insinuating
mean,
Oh, Lynn's going to continue to do exactly what he's doing.
it. Yep. He likes gold, boys, and killing. So,
Da, da, da.
yep. End of Alayne 1, Sansa 2. Kyle, thoughts?
I said it up front, man. Fuck Littlefinger.
Okay.
He escapes me out. But
This is what
it
I
was
was
a little
thinking
more.
might be.
I was gonna say it was a little more fun to talk through, though. I will agree. Like it gave for an enjoyable conversation. So I'll it improved my vote of the chapter. It was just reading it was kind of tough, right? So
Yeah. Again, you guys know my favorite thing is when George references something and then like brings it back up to make it important like 2,000 pages later. But I think it's also really cool when he does it within the same chapter because it makes it so that like even during the podcast when Kyle basically rereads the chapter, he kind of gets like a spoiler section for himself.
it's like the
where-
reread. Yeah.
So at the very end, when you learn that Lynn's on Peter's side, it's kind of cool
Yeah.
to reread even this chapter in
Yeah,
isolation.
that one definitely made it more interesting to go back through it with the Lynn stuff kind of popping out there.
Yeah.
Jeff, what were you gonna say? Though?
I think it's just I just enjoy the actual chapters that are back towards the throne than like the world building stuff. Like even the Arya stuff, like what the fuck are we doing over in Bravos right now? Like I like it's not even action, it's more politics and the gaming around the throne, which I think like the Cersei chapters, this one. Even like the Greyjoys, like they're like, all right, like let's get back in the fight. Like let's like I think that I enjoyed that tree, that branch of the tree.
All right.
Yeah, and at this point, at the point of recording this, we just released the Brienne chapter where Jeff definitely had some strong opinions about not loving the chapter. And I think the podcast was good, and that's what we had some discussion in the Discord with some of the Discord fans where like, and they were saying that they kind of like that approach where some people don't like that Brienne chapter, and Jeff isn't gonna lie and pretend that he fucking likes a chapter because we do a podcast on it. And I think that's great, right? Because it kind of brings that conversation.
Again, I like the whispers. I like when they act. The last 3 pages I thought were good.
Unlike Nelson, who literally every chapter, top 10 chapter.
That's not true. I told you guys that Sam chapter where he's on the boat with Gilly is like one of the worst.
That one chapter I didn't like.
One chapter out of 225 that we've done.
All right, well, we've been going too long for this one. Kyle, anything else pressing to say, or we're going to kick you out?
No.
All right, we'll see you on the next one for Cersei 5.
Bye.
Kyle.
Later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle.
Michael, thanks for hanging out with us. See you on the next one for
Cersei 5.
Cersei 5. What's your hot takes?
First,
We're coming in hot first line. All right,
first
go
thing
ahead.
before we even get in the first line, you actually had something that you wanted me to put in the notes to bring on after the last story that we forgot.
Yeah. Good
Rare. You don't have these many. But the kindly man asks if she knows the difference between dusk and dawn when she's like asking if she can
Yeah.
read a fake smile from a real smile, and she's like, I think I can, but she says she can, but she thinks to herself that she's not sure if she can.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously dusk, dawn, not often you get a dawn reference. And again, kind of to this chapter, is there a dawn? You said first line. Is there a dawn?
First line. Sansa wakes with the sunrise.
Yeah, but no dawn. There's like kind of like in the.
It's not dawn, but it's dawn.
Yeah, but it's kind of weird. And I think you mentioned this before in the last in the Drowned Man chapter, Aaron, that there's a whole scene where he's talking about dawn, but he never actually mentions the word dawn.
Yeah.
So again, kind of weird that it got dropped in the Arya chapter. And again, that might be something we're reading way too much into, but
Yeah, I mean, there's so many dawns at this point that it's like, all right, it's literally just the time of the day, probably.
But like when Jon sees dawn at the wall, the word dawn gets dropped like 7 times. Sansa sees it, nothing. Aaron sees it, nothing. And again, it does get dropped every once in a while in chapters that doesn't seem like it should be.
Maybe some people have more of a play on this deal.
So cool. Okay. I actually didn't notice that.
We come right in.
Yeah.
Sansa wakes at sunrise, which again, like dawn only like right at the crest, like right when the sun crests the horizon. Bam, that's dawn. Or like how long? When does dawn end? Like when the sun's
fully set, I think it's technically called twilight. I just know that because I know that sometimes
that's
pilots,
dusk.
when their pilots are qualifying for well, I think
You just said set. You just said fully set.
I think when it's fully on the horizon, so there's no part of the sun sticking up. I think it's technically called twilight.
Again, we're talking the other direction.
Either way, I think it would be dawn or dusk until the sun is completely Like
Okay.
as soon as you see a little bit of the sun, that's when dawn starts.
Yeah.
Right. And then maybe when it's fully risen a full bit above the horizon, that's the end of dawn.
Once
dusk,
it's not touching the horizon.
dusk when it hits the horizon, that's the start of dusk. And once it falls, then it becomes twilight. I think I might be wrong about that, but I think that's technical. I just know like pilots, like fighter pilots and stuff, and helicopter pilots have to get a certain number of like twilight hours in. And I think that technically means when the sun is not in the sky, when there is light from the sun, but it's not in the sky. But I might be wrong about that.
Never heard about it, so your guess is as good as mine. But yeah, how she's kind of talking about the cold in the north, or not north, but like the tombs and winter. It's like winter equals tombs equals death equals we're fucked. It gave me this feeling of like, how would you like this, right? Say they all band together to fight the cold, right? They fight the whites and the others. What if they just lose that fight? Would you like that ending? They're just wiped out.
If it just
all of this for them
lost,
to band together.
not.
All of this to band together, and then they lose.
If they lost a decent amount before they won, yes. But if they just like completely lost, I don't know. There would have to be like a good message.
They're
that you
almost
can see
completely
through it.
wiped out, but Arya stabs the quote unquote Night King, and she's the only one alive.
I don't know about that, but again, like I think any ending could work with me as long as like the message, like it seems like there's a good message. Like again, I don't even know if message, but like if it could just feel right. You know, I could see anything feeling right. But what George says is he wants bittersweet, and he compares it to the end of the Lord of the Rings, and I'm not going to spoil that for you because I want you to watch that at one point. But he says bittersweet. So again, like it's happy, but like you're like the characters don't all have a happy ending. Right? The main character of that story doesn't have a happy ending, but it's the ending is happy, right? So why was I talking about this? Where did
I just said, what if they all die?
So okay, yes, I could see
Just like winter and shit like
so
that.
I guess my answer is I could see like the ending of the epilogue of the entire thing skipping ahead like 200 years. So all the main characters, even if say we win the war against the others, but all the main characters are still dead, and we just get the idea that it's like I don't think this would be the case, but we just get the idea it's like Jon and Dany's great grandson, and he's the king ruling over a peaceful realm. Right. Again, I don't think at all that's what it would be, but that type of thing where even though everyone's dead, you can
just
still
flying around on their dragons, and then it just goes right into How I Trained My Dragon or whatever that cartoon is.
Sure, exactly. We tie it into some other series. Again, I think that's the most unlikely George thing ever is to have Jon and Dany win and have their kid be ruling at the end of everything. But that's
I don't think it's
you
bad
understand what I'm saying.
if Jon dies and Dany's queen and she has Jon's
We have
baby.
too many other things to talk about in this chapter to be going down this rabbit hole. You get my feeling. Like you know what I'm saying. Like you could have a bad ending that still makes you feel good. I guess is my point.
I wouldn't hate if they all died either.
Yeah, it could be done right. If they all just died at end of story and nothing, there was no like point, then like no. But if there was,
I mean, it's better than no ending.
I don't know. Then you get to make something up. But okay, what's your next point in this chapter?
She wanted wings to fly.
She wants to fly. I kind of thought about that as the Jenny thing.
It really just gave me a Bran vibe. Like she wants the wings. Bran got the wings.
Yeah. And what does Robert always yell? Fly, fly, fly. I want to make him fly. And he makes his porridge fly when he throws the bowl across the room.
Yeah.
I think there's something up with Robert 100% with the Marillion thing. That's my biggest spoiler, and we'll kind of get to that in a second. Marillion, sleep sweet. Jesus Christ.
Sweet sleep. And also, Sansa tells him, "Sweet Robin, he's dead."
Marillion's dead.
Yeah, when she's trying to convince him he's dead, she calls him Sweet Robin.
I feel like he gets called Sweet. That's like a nickname that he's been called before. I think Lysa used to call him that a lot.
Well, it's been used for sure, but it's been used in that sentence.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. So I guess right before we get there, the one I had is, what does Robert want for breakfast?
Bacon and eggs.
How many eggs?
3.
3 eggs. Like he really wants 3 eggs. He yells about it a bunch. Again, why
is just a good number? It's just a good number.
It's a lot of eggs. Like I mean, I would eat 3 eggs. Would Robert eat? Robert's a little kid.
3 dragon eggs.
That's what I'm thinking. Again, because I'm about to go into this whole. There's definitely some weird dream stuff happening with him.
Dude,
if he's
but
hearing
3 scrambled eggs isn't that many. That's not that much eggs.
You're right. It feels like a lot if you eat like 3 fried eggs, but you're right. Yeah,
you make an omelet, you use 3 eggs.
But he's a little kid.
If I made an omelet for a kid, it would be a 3-egg omelet probably. Maybe they don't eat it all.
But I guess again, I'm about to go into. I think Robert has whether he's a warg or he has weird dreams. I don't know the answer. There's something weird with
Somebody's fucking with his brain. Maybe he's got a little Hodor to him. Maybe they tried to tap in and he's a little fucked up.
So I think there's a part, I could probably find it. I don't have the quote right in front of me, but Bran, when he has the dream where he's falling and the crow's like, fly or die.
Pecking at his forehead.
There's a few, because there's another one that I do have that I will bring up, but there's another one where he's actually falling for a long time. But at the bottom, he sees and he sees like the entire world. At the bottom, he sees a bunch of spikes with a bunch of, I think what he calls fallen dreamers or something like that. Maybe that's what the fandom calls them. People think Euron might be one of these. People think Sweet Robin might be one of these. So like they had this vision of fly or die, and they didn't fly, so they didn't open their third eye like Bran did, and they just in that dream they fell into the spikes. But that didn't mean they die in real life. It just means they didn't get maybe everything Bran did, but they got some. They still have something there.
I mean, it goes to think like what you're saying makes me think that Bloodraven, like why Bran, right? There's no real reason that it needed to be Bran. Maybe there is, but like he was out trying to recruit cats until like, all right, Bran's up next type of thing. Like, all right, if Euron failed and Sweet Robin failed, like, all right, fuck it, let's try this kid that just lost his legs at Winterfell.
Yeah, well, and because he's the one that was able to succeed past the whatever that dream was, past the test. Now he's the one that Bloodraven's like, get that kid up here. When the show was still going on, my thought was Bloodraven is the one in, I think what Jojen or somebody tells Bran is one of the 1,000 children of the forest, or one of the 1,000 people are a warg, and one of the 1,000 wargs are a green seer. So my thought is because it's a 1 in a million, Bloodraven basically is looking for one, and once he finds one, he wants to bring them to him, because what we learn in the Varamir Sixskins chapters, you can warg into another person, but then that's your last life. And my thought is, and we don't know if this is true or not, but what if you warg into somebody who can warg? Can you then, do you get to, you know what I mean? Is that your last life, or can you keep their warg powers and you can just kind of keep rolling that on? So if Bloodraven is a warg and a green seer, and he wants to keep taking that power, then every time
he's gonna warg into Bran,
that body dies, he needs another body with the same powers to warg into, or else he loses something. Exactly. So maybe that's what happened to Bloodraven, right? Because we don't know what happened to Bloodraven. We know he went to the wall, and then he went north of the wall, and he went back, and now Bran finds him in a tree. But maybe there was the three-eyed raven before who called him there, right? Now there are other theories that Bran, future Bran, the three-eyed raven is actually tied to Bran and stuff. But
I'm cool with Bloodraven teaching Bran and Bloodraven kicking rocks after that.
Again, I don't think what I just explained is what I believe in the books anymore. That was what I thought before the end of season 8, and I think maybe now that I'm doing a reread, I don't think that as much. But yeah, so on the Bran thing, I guess because we're kind of getting off topic, let me bring it back because there is some of the stuff related to Bran for Sweet Sleep. I didn't mention this to Kyle. So what we've heard of Sweet Sleep before is what I said. It was used to put the guards to sleep for Tyrion, and Bran in Bran 1 Clash of Kings, when he starts getting wolf dreams and he's complaining of it to Lewin. Lewin's like, oh, it's nothing. And then we get this quote, the door to the bedchamber opened, Maester Lewin was carrying a green jar, and this time Osha and Hayhead came with him. I've made you a sleeping draught, Bran. Osha scooped him up in her bony arms. She was very tall for a woman, wiry strong, bore him effortlessly to his bed. This will give you dreamless sleep, Maester Lewin said as he pulled the stopper from the jar. Sweet, dreamless sleep. So it's never called sweet sleep in this chapter, but this is what he says.
I'll infer.
Yep. And it's on the Game of Thrones wiki, it's there. It will, Bran said, wanting to believe. Yes, drink. Bran drank. The potion was thick and chalky, but there was honey in it, so it went down easy. Come the morn, you'll feel better, Lewin gave Bran a smile and took his leave. Osha lingered behind. Is it the wolf dreams again? Bran nodded. You should not fight so hard, boy. I see you talking to the heart tree. Might be the gods are trying to talk back. The gods? He murmured, drowsing already. Osha's face grew blurry and gray. Sweet, dreamless sleep, Bran thought. Yet when the darkness closed over him, he found himself in the godswood, moving silently beneath gray-green sentinels and gnarled oaks as old as time. I'm walking, he thought, exulting. Part of him knew that it was only a dream, but even the dream walking was better than the truth of his bedchamber. So,
but he wasn't dreaming, we know that.
Well, exactly, but they gave him sweet sleep.
And he still warged.
To try and stop the dreams, and he still warged.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't a dream, is the point I'm making.
And so...
Bran isn't dreaming, and Bran is living.
So what we'll learn is that they keep giving Robin sweet sleep.
Okay.
And let me find another quote real quick.
What is he working into, though? The Falcon?
Again, I don't know if it's warging or if it's green seeing, because again, if I'm trying to go with the 3 eggs means he was seeing visions of dragon's eggs, and the whole Marillion thing. I don't think. How do you hear Marillion
visions,
singing?
Visions, they've already came true. The dragon eggs were over a year ago.
I know, but what if he's again Bran sees stuff in the past? But again, that's across the sea. I don't know. Maybe that's a stretch. But the whole him hear Marillion, I don't. So the whole Marillion thing's dead. Do you remember what happened with Marillion in the last chapter?
I thought we had talked that like Littlefinger sends him somewhere.
So Marillion last chapter, he gets brought in and questioned, right? And Sansa has heard that his eyes were, or he says so he has bandages over his eyes so you can't see, and he has really stiff gloves on so you can't see what's going on with his hands. Sansa has heard from maids that he's lost a bunch of fingers, but when she sees him, she's like, you actually can't tell. And he, when he confesses, says that I'm blind now, but at least Lord Littlefinger let me keep my tongue so I can still sing. So I'm a singer. Yeah. But again, we were speculating like, did he? Sansa even thinks like you wouldn't be able to tell if he actually lost his fingers or not. So
sure. To
me, I'm thinking Littlefinger might have told Marillion, hey, like maybe it's you win more. What is it with honey than vinegar, right? Like
you attract more flies,
something like that. Like you basically, the sweeter approach is better. So that was what I was proposing, I think, last chapter. I might have been even doing it in the non-spoiler because it was so obvious that like, could Marillion not have been tortured at all? And Littlefinger was like, yo, I won't torture you, because it's weird that he's able to sing and play all these songs perfectly if he's missing all these fingers.
Wait, so he's still alive singing?
That's my suspicion, is that he's alive. That he's alive. The next question is, how is Robert hearing him singing? So let's say Littlefinger sent him down to the Mountain of the Moon and put him in a dungeon there. And he's just in a dungeon there. And somehow Robert, when he's sleeping, because Robert says when he has pillows over his ears and the shutter's closed. So I don't think he's physically hearing him singing. I think he's somehow doing a warg. He's warging into a rat in the dungeon in the Mountains of the Moons and hearing him singing. Or he's getting a green dream.
You're selling just something that's so far out of like left field that like I don't like, even if it's true, like why does this need to be true?
I guess it's like here's how it feels to me, Jeff. Is like when we were in college. I know you're gonna relate to this. When we were doing proofs in math, it's what happened all the time. Basically, it's like, okay, you got to prove that you have start and end. And a lot of times we'd start at the beginning, and we get like 4 steps in, and we're like, I don't know what the next step is. So then we go to the end, and we'd like work backwards, and we get like 4 steps, and then we knew that there was like a 2 steps in between that somehow got us from where we were to where we were trying to get to.
All right, I'm following you. Tell me what the end goal is.
That's where I'm at with Robert, is I know it's something with dreams is kind of like the first part of the proof. And right now in the podcast, what I'm trying to do is what we used to do in our homework, where we were like, so clearly it follows, but it's not very clear how it follows. And I understand that. And that's why we would get an 8 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10. But
I just don't think Robin plays that big of a role in the whole story.
And you might be right, but like, I don't know. There's so much weird stuff in this chapter with like the sweet sleep and.
But dude, we gotta wrap this fucking thing up, don't you think?
No, that you keep saying that. I think that you're wrong. You can't be thinking that. It's getting bigger.
Well, then it's never gonna finish. It's never gonna finish. The only way this book finishes is if the White Walkers knock out half of these people.
We're going too long. Let me get back to sweet sleep because I have a few more things to say on sweet sleep. The next Bran chapter, again, no mention of sweet sleep, but he doesn't even actually get given a draft. But that night, Bran prayed to his father's gods for dreamless sleep. If the gods heard, they mocked his hopes. The nightmares they sent were worse than any wolf dream. Fly or die, cried the three-eyed crow as it pecked at him. He wept and pleaded, but the crow had no pity. It put out his left eye, then his right, and when he was blind in the dark, it pecked at his brow, driving its terrible shark beak into his skull. He screamed until he was certain his lungs would burst. The pain was an axe splitting his head apart, but when the crow wrenched its beak out, all slimy with bits of bone and brain, Bran could see again. What he saw made him gasp in fear. He was clinging to the tower miles high, fingers were slipping, nails scrabbling at the stone, and then he sees the vision of the golden man push him out. But again, the dreamless sleep is put right next to this fly thing. What does Robert say about everybody is make him fly? Again, it makes sense because the moon door, but that's like the thing for the Bran dreaming thing. So, well, again, that's my so.
Read the last line again.
What? The last part's about Bran's fingers slipping.
From where?
He was clinging to a tower miles high, and his fingers were slipping, nails scrabbling at the stone, his legs dangling down, stupid, useless, dead legs. Help me, he cried. A golden man appeared in the sky above him and pulled him up. The things I do for love, he murmured, as he tossed him out, kicking in empty air. So I didn't think about that, but are you insinuating that Jaime pushing Bran out the window is similar to Lysa being pushed out the window?
Yeah, I mean,
On a tower miles high?
On the tower miles high. This is the highest tower, right?
Yeah. So I didn't even think about that. And again, there's no mention of sweet sleep here, but it does say Bran prayed to the gods for a dreamless sleep, and that's the Bran chapter after he actually did get sweet sleep, which wasn't named, and Lewin just said it would give him dreamless sleep. Last thing I have on sweet sleep, in the next, I think it's the next Arya chapter later in this book, basically Arya is being taught about poisons and stuff, and it says, sweet sleep is the gentlest of poisons, the waif told her, as she was grinding some with a mortal and pestle. A few grains will slow a pounding heart and stop a hand from shaking. A few grains. And make a man feel calm and strong. A pinch will grant a night of deep and dreamless sleep. This is what Robert got before the feast. Okay? So three pinches will produce that sleep that does not end. The taste is very sweet, so it is best to be used in cakes and pies and honey wines. So 3 pinches, death. 1 pinch, dreamless sleep. Littlefinger, this is in Alayne 2. Littlefinger says that Robert wanted another pinch last night and you refused him. Talking to Maester Coleman. I guess Alayne says this. He wanted another last night and you refused him. It was too soon, my lady. You do not understand. As I told the Lord Protector, a pinch of sweet sleep will prevent the shaking, but it does not leave the flesh. And in time, so it's not like a pinch a day. It's like it's what we have about sweet sleep is like 3 pinches over your life and you're dead. And Robert's taking this shit. It's not clear, but it seems like he just is taking this shit like medicine.
That can't be true though. He would be dead already. He'd be dead already.
So he'd be dead already. But what's the only other person we've seen take a pinch of sweet sleep and not get affected by it like it should be? It's supposed to give Bran dreamless sleep, and Bran has wolf dreams like it's no tomorrow. So again, there's my clearly.
We know it's not a wolf dream though. It's not a wolf dream.
But you see what I'm claiming is that Robert, the only way that Robert is taking this shit with no problem is the same way Bran is. And again, we don't know for sure that Bran doesn't seem to be quaffing the shit by the gallon. But if Robert is, then he's got some mental something going on. I don't know if it's warging, if it's green. Something is going on. And again, he's hearing Marillion singing, which I think plays into that, especially after the weirdness of Marillion in the last chapter. Again, like, what does the weirdness mean? I don't know, but it's very clear that he might not have been tortured at all. I think George is trying to make us think he might not have been tortured at all.
I'm fine with Marillion being alive.
I looked this up. There's no real good Marillion theories. I feel like this is like the biggest mystery we've seen so far in Feast of Crows, and I can't find really any good thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, maybe we'll dive into that.
That's
later.
something I might dive into once we're done the podcast. We'll have to check that back out deeper. So
I'll just poke holes in your research.
I like that. That's what we need. Can't have yes men around here. You got anything else?
Harry Harding, isn't he somebody soon?
Harry the heir, which is why they're supposed to be friends. I was wondering if Kyle was going to wonder this because he's like, Littlefinger's like, send me Harry, and she's like, you're a thief, and it's because he's trying to steal the heir. This number 2 behind Robert. That's what he's thieving. Like, it's not just a random boy. And Bronzion even says like, oh, I agree, they should be friends. And again, it makes sense. You don't want the heir not liking the current ruler, else you could have some mischief going on, right? So he's like, yeah, they should be friends, but so there was some hints of like what's up with this boy, but not clear.
Isn't that also maybe a Sansa suitor too?
Yeah, that I think there's some Winds of Winter chapters and stuff going on in here, but that's definitely part of the plan. Is let's marry Harry the heir to Sansa. Sansa will then be heir to through. I'm not sure exactly how legally Littlefinger plans on this working, but I think the end goal is because she's my daughter, she'll inherit the Eyrie and Harrenhal, and because she's Sansa, she'll inherit the North. I don't see how those two things can be the same at the same time, but I feel like Littlefinger has some loopholes where that's the kind of the end game, where she's basically going to become a lady of 3 of the 7 kingdoms, like that. And again, there's 9 kingdoms, but a third's not bad.
Yeah. I don't need to talk about anything else.
Last thing I had was there's a part, I forget who says it, but it says, let us be frank, you are no Aaron, and Lord Robert is no blood of yours. By what right do you presume to rule us? So I think this is a fan theory. Is Robert blood of Littlefinger? Is Robert Littlefinger's bastard, basically? Could potentially, maybe. I think part of this goes on, could part of the reason Lysa not get pregnant have been on Jon's end? Right? Again, we know the first one was because of the Tansy tea and everything, but maybe after that there was part of the issue was on Jon's end.
Sure, he had a weak swimmers, and maybe the Tansy tea fucked her up a bit too.
Well, and it's kind of crazy to think about, but like, say that marriage goes on long enough, and Littlefinger is kind of looking really far down the line. He's like, I know at one point because John Aaron's old as fuck.
John's gonna die at some point.
He's gonna die. Lysa's gonna be single, and I'm the number I can get in there. But the problem is, I need a real. Basically, if he's playing this game out, that what happens right in this chapter in his mind, but he plays it out without a kid, it doesn't work, right? For the reason, like they're like, what by right do you claim to rule over us? He's like, I'm the Lord Protector till Robert. That's his like.
Yeah.
So if he's literally playing this out from back in the day when John's alive, before Robert's born, you know what I mean? Which is, again, I wouldn't put it past him with Littlefinger, and I don't know, but could he have? That's why he had. If Robert's his kid, could he have done it? Not only is it Robert's kid, could he have done it on purpose because he knew this meeting would happen one day? And if so, that's crazy and cool, and I kind of hope it happens. It seems a little far-fetched, so I kind of hope it doesn't because it would make the story more realistic. But I hope it does because it makes Littlefinger more of a Littlefinger. I mean, he is like. I feel like there are other shows where I'll see a character and be like, "This is a Littlefinger character," right? Like he kind of defined the scheminess of like the long game schemes, especially with like the John Aaron murder is like just in and of itself. Yeah, I mean, I just convinced myself he had Robert.
I'm not
step one of this whole plan.
I can foresee it. I can foresee him being like, all right, yeah, I'll diddle you, Lysa, like, and like maybe you'll actually have my kid, like we can pretend, and I'll use it as a chip. Like even if he didn't have it all planned out, like he'd be like, all right, that's a chip I can use later on. And like, yeah, John's old as fuck, like fine.
It's crazy, like thinking about it like this, how important Robert is, right? Why does John Aaron die? Because Robert Aaron was going to be fostered. How does Littlefinger get in charge? Because Robert Aaron is a key to the power through Lysa. Lysa's not enough, but through Robert. So again, like it's crazy in hindsight, like Robert Aaron is actually kind of the key to all of Littlefinger's plans. So it doesn't John Aaron's death and the ruling of the Vale. So again, I could see it being intentional. So again, just that was the last one I had is let's be frank, Lord Robert is no blood of yours. It's just like a very blatant anti-fan theory, which made me think of the fan theory, obviously.
Yeah,
so.
There's no DNA kit yet, no 23andMe. So all right, I'm all good. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, that's all I got. Cool. See you guys in the next one for Cersei 5. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.